Continuing now with our special coverage of the crash of U.S. Airways Flight 1549. No question, a pilot, 28-year-old veteran, 28-year veteran named Chelsea Sullenberger was a hero, negotiating a very difficult water landing. But what happens now? 78 people were hurt aboard that plane. Here is attorney and Fox News anchor Megyn Kelly with the likely aftermath. Before we get to that, you're a scary flyer. You get white knuckle when you go on a plane.
I do.
As well. But we must point out that this is the first time in almost 2 years there's been any accident like this, you know, a large airliner going down, and it's much safer than even flying.
Yeah. No, listen, one of the things that jumped out at me today was that statistic that in 2 years, not one death has occurred on a U.S. commercial airliner, despite the fact that we've had 1.5 billion who flew on flights.
Isn't that amazing?
That's a good number.
And this guy, Sullenberger, Chelsea Sullenberger, I mean, the skill to bring a plane down in the Hudson River 3 minutes after you took off,
right,
because you got geese in your, blowing out your engine.
Right.
And to bring it down in a way that doesn't kill anybody, number one.
Right.
And then the whole crew is so composed that they're able to get the rafts and all the doors open so nobody drowns, because the water was coming on into the plane. Now, we're going to have a survivor of this coming in to tell us exactly what happened a moment after you. But I'm just amazed, and I've seen this stuff all the time, covering news for 35 years. This was so skillful in every way, it was almost a miracle.
Well, you do have to credit not just the pilot, who indeed deserves a lot of credit, but the flight attendants as well, who by all accounts helped to get these people off in an orderly fashion. But this guy, Chelsea Sullenberger, I mean, talk about experience coming back to help you, to maintain his cool, as the passengers we've talked to so far say he did.
Yeah, former Air Force guy, 28 years. He had to know
those passengers were in a panic. They said he got on and he said, look, there's a problem. And he said, brace. And I'm sure the passenger will tell you exactly what happened.
This guy's a hero, along with the rescuers and like that.
And God bless that man and U.S. Airlines for hiring somebody like that. I mean, it's a credit to the American aviation system that with all the cutbacks that they've been suffering, the bankruptcy these airlines have been through, we still have men and women like that in the sky protecting us. The flight attendants are not our waitresses. They are out there for our safety, and so is that man.
Now, if you're a passenger, because I don't even know this, and you're riding on a train or a plane and you get hurt, something like this happens, do you have a legal recourse?
Yes, you usually do, unless you've signed away your rights, which you wouldn't. I mean, if you want to allege...
Because it's not the airline's fault, it's the geese.
Well,
the geese
look,
did it.
In this case, I don't see any lawsuit. I really don't. It's early, and I'll bet you anything there'll be some lawyer who will try to file it. But good luck suing U.S. Air or this pilot, who they normally go after.
You're saying that because of what happened, that it was an act of God or whatever.
It was an act of God.
Okay. There is no liability on the part of the airline. They weren't negligent. In fact, they were heroic.
Well, usually you allege pilot error. That's usually how you go after the airline.
But
obviously,
Chelsea say they're lying.
Well, yeah, based on what we're seeing here tonight, I don't see a lawsuit like that.
Some sleazy lawyer is going to go in and try to make some money.
I'm sorry to say that's usually how it works. Already, that jet that went off, the Continental jet that went off the airline, the runway in Denver, already lawsuits been filed there by a couple of passengers. It usually doesn't take long before someone
But this is a little bit different. So we were going to probably spotlight the lawyer who tries to do that.
I hope we do.
All right. And finally tonight, a survivor of U.S. Air Flight 1549. Fred Beretta was sitting in a seat over the left engine when it blew, and when the pilot crash landed in the frigid Hudson River, Mr. Beretta was experiencing what few of us will ever experience. Fred joins us now. First of all, you live in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes.
You're a banker, married, 4 children, 14, 13, 9, and 7. You're a pilot yourself?
Private pilot, right.
Okay. So let's pick it up. You take off from LaGuardia Airport. It's a cold day, sunny. You get up in the air. Take it away.
Sure. Normal takeoff, very smooth. Was just kind of settling back in the seat and heard the left engine make a pretty loud noise, and looked out and said, well, that looks strange, and it was sort of sputtering, and thought, okay, we lost the left engine.
You could see it, right?
I could.
All right, so the left engine is sputtering. You didn't see any geese or anything, did you?
No.
All right, so you knew there was a left engine in trouble.
Yes.
Your reaction then?
At that point, I became concerned about the right engine. I was hoping that was working, so we talked to the folks in the row on the right side of the aircraft and said, hey, what's going on over there? And unfortunately, they said, not a lot. So at that point, probably the fear escalated.
In you?
I think in me and everyone really on the plane.
All right, so everybody in the plane then knew there was something wrong. The pilot still hadn't come on the overhead, right?
No.
Okay. So was there panic on the plane?
No, there really wasn't that I recall at all. The pilot started to make a gradual left turn and we were all kind of waiting. We knew that he would say something eventually. It seemed like a long time, although it probably was only a couple of minutes.
It was 3 minutes between takeoff and when you hit the water. So the plane quiet?
It was quiet. Heard a couple emotional outbursts, but nothing major.
Okay.
At that time.
Now, the pilot comes on and says?
The only words I recall him saying were "prepare for impact."
And how far ahead of when you hit the water did that happen?
Well, Bill, it seemed like an eternity, but I'm sure it was only a couple of minutes. But it was a bit of time, and I watched the wing. I watched them extend the flaps, and really was trying to just gauge when we were about to hit the water so I could be prepared for that.
Did you know you were over the Hudson and going down into the Hudson?
Yes.
So you could see out the window what the situation was?
Yes.
Now, at this point, was the plane still quiet as you were descending down, or were people getting a little scared?
It was still really quiet. I think everyone was just stunned. Sort of the reality of it was people were just assimilating that.
Can you remember what you were thinking?
I looked out the window and I thought, there's a good chance we're going to die. And I did think about my family and started praying.
Are you a religious man?
I am. Try to be.
Were other people praying aloud?
I didn't hear any, but I could tell. I just kind of glanced around, and people were either just sort of closing their eyes or, sitting quietly. For the most part, people were pretty calm.
Okay. You hit the water. We understand it was a big, everybody went up in the air. What happened to you?
Well, I described this before. It did seem I'm sure it was only a few milliseconds or a few seconds. It did seem like a ride at Disney World. I felt like I was on Space Mountain for a couple of seconds. The impact was intense. Really just hoping the plane was staying intact, and was amazed when we looked up that it was.
Okay. Did you leave your seat, or were you still buckled in?
I was still buckled in. People were shouting to the passengers in the exit row to open the doors, which they did a great job. So
the passengers themselves opened the exit doors, by the way?
As I recall, yes.
Okay. Was the flight crew doing anything in particular? Did anybody else say anything on the overhead?
I don't remember any instructions. I do remember seeing the flight crew helping people exit the aircraft. They were calm.
Were you in an exit roll or just over the wing?
No, I was just over the wing. I was
so
a few
how did
rows
you get
behind.
out?
We all waited our turn to get out.
No pushing, shoving, panic?
No, there was certainly people were close together, but the people weren't trampling each other or walking over each other. People were really letting folks get out in order.
Water coming into the plane?
There could have been. I didn't see any.
When you got out, and I'm going to carry over Fred for the to the end of the broadcast here. When you got out, were you standing on the wing?
I was.
Okay, so you were on the wing. Were you helping? Was everybody out? Were you one of the first or last to get out?
Well, at that point, I was probably about halfway through, and I was trying to help people come out of the craft into the wing.
Was anybody hurt?
There seemed to be some bruises. People were in shock. It was hard to tell if there weren't any serious injuries.
But nobody acting out or doing anything that was out of control that you saw?
No.
Isn't that amazing? For 155 people? You would think that there would be somebody going out of control, but there wasn't anybody.
No, it was amazing.
All right, so you get out then on the wing, and then, as we discussed earlier, the rescue guys are there almost instantaneously, right?
They were. We were just, really hoping that they would get there. Because you get out on the wing, and then the next thing you're thinking is there's some folks in the water, and you're thinking, all right, can I live through this ordeal getting in the water?
Right.
As the plane goes down, and how long will we have once we're in the water?
Did you see people in the water?
There were.
Okay. Because that's hypothermia there.
Yeah.
You got to get them out of there. But you didn't go in the water?
No, just about up to my ankles.
Okay, and you got into a craft, and they took you to Manhattan.
Right.
Now, did your wife know that this was happening to you? Did she know you were on that flight? Because almost instantly the TV news went on and all that. Did she know?
No, she didn't. She knew I was flying back from New York, but she didn't know that the plane had gone down.
Well, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you finally got to a phone and called her, what was that all about?
Well, I actually left her a message as she was leaving to pick up my sons at the bus stop. So she, and then I got to her first.
Now, looking back, how do you digest it? You seem very calm here and obviously articulate. It's a miracle, right?
I think so. I'm convinced that it is. That many people to get off that plane in a few seconds. It's amazing. I'm still trying to process it, to be quite honest.
And when are you going to go home?
Tomorrow.
All right, look, Fred, you know, I think it was really nice of you to come in, and after all you've been through today, and we just we're so happy that everybody, and this is just a great example of people keeping composed. Nobody got killed, and everybody did their job. We really appreciate it. We're glad you're safe.
Sure. Thank you,
Fred. Okay. And that is it for this special edition of The Factor. Tomorrow we'll talk with more of the people aboard that crash plane. You know, it's just an amazing story, ladies and gentlemen. We're happy we could report that nobody was killed. Thanks again for watching The Factor, and we'll see you again tomorrow.